The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash from Tash and Ana from Perla. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast,
where we take you from beginner to confident investor,
where we can teach you everything you need to know about investing.
So come get rich slow with us.
Hello and welcome back. We have some really fun money dilemmas, money stories. We want to find a name for this segment as well. We're not sure what to call it. So if you have a suggestion of like a regular segment where we're going through your money stories, money dilemmas, am I the asshole questions, let us know what we should call it, because I don't want to call it money dilemmas. I've heard Sim from Girls That Invest do money dilemmas, so we need a different title.
Yeah, I don't know. Money madness.
Money madness, yeah.
Yeah, these are always like super heated kind of conversations. So very excited to hear what people think.
Yeah, today's theme seems to be weddings. We got a few. So I've got two where people actually messaged our Get Rich Slow Club Instagram and me with their stories. And there's lots of wedding ones, which is quite interesting. Is yours a wedding one as well?
Yeah.
3 wedding ones. Amazing.
All right. Well,
but first, money wins, money losses. What have you got?
Wah, wah, wah. Our sink broke. There was like a crack in our sink that we noticed. So my partner kind of like tried to fix it up, but it's going to cost us at least $100 to fix the sink. And while we're at it, we're like, well, should we maybe reno this bathroom because it's a bit old? And so it's hard when you own your own place. You always want to keep improving. It's back to our like 1% improvement of stuff. So if I'm fixing the sink, why not change the tap or this?
Whole bathroom?
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the conversation at hand. It's fine. Like the crack is filled in, so it's manageable, but we are discussing what that might look like.
Our friend Emma from the Broke Generation calls these spending runways, where you give yourself permission to spend on one thing and all of a sudden you've given yourself permission to spend on multiple things. You're like, oh, well, I might as well do the whole bathroom then.
Yeah. The benefit is that sometimes we are procrastinators. So we'll be like, oh, we should do this. And then at the end, we plug up we fix the sink and we're like, let's just replace the sink because we've lost the motivation or the inspiration to be like, let's change the bathroom.
Yeah.
So we do save some money that way. So I will keep you posted on what we do, but essentially it'll cost us $100 to change the sink, and if not more.
What's wrong with it? What are you changing? The actual sink or like the tap?
Yeah. So the sink, like in the sink, there's like a crack, like some kind of crack that happened. And we were doing research online, and that can happen with like heat getting hotter and colder and shifts in the house. So sometimes like just a porcelain sink can crack. I've never heard of this, but apparently this happens.
Interesting.
So the sink definitely needs to be replaced. I mean, replaced eventually, unless we're going to have this ugly, like gray filled in line. But it is our ensuite bathroom, so no one sees it, but still. Yeah,
all the little costs. Mine is a fun one today. I went to the Sunshine Coast the other week and then I was heading to the Gold Coast afterwards, and it cost me 50 cents to get public transport.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because Queensland has their 50-cent public transport thing at the moment, which is insane. So I got 3 trains in the end, 3 trains, and it cost me 50 cents for the whole journey.
How long was the journey?
It took me 4 hours to get there. So the drive, I think, would have been like 2.5, 3 hours if I drove directly, but with trains and like stopping over and I don't know if you call them train layovers, I guess, train changes. It took me about 4 hours to get there, but 50 cents.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why is it so cheap?
There's just a new initiative. They've got 50% public transport. The government announced there. So Queensland is winning at the moment.
Oh my gosh. Let's all move to Queensland.
Yeah, it was so exciting. I am really excited about these stories. I love them because there's so much nuance that goes into them, and trying to decide, like putting yourself in that situation can be quite tricky as well. So here is the first one. Am I the asshole for wanting to invoice my friend for leaving my wedding early?
What?
Yeah. Wedding ceremonies and receptions are so hectic and busy that it's difficult to speak to every guest, but we made eye contact a few times and I waved as we sat during the reception. I noticed as the night went on that I couldn't see her anywhere. I asked a friend who was sitting next to her if she had seen her, and she said she hadn't seen her for over an hour. I let it go, but saw on social media the next morning that she left my wedding to go clubbing for someone else's birthday. I called her out, which led to her blocking me on everything. I made a comment about invoicing her for her and her partner's seat. Her partner wasn't even originally invited. And after a few days, I saw a payment in my bank account for the exact amount with the comment, "Never speak to me again."
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, first off, I couldn't imagine invoicing someone for my own wedding. Like, I don't know why, but that's just so strange to me.
Yeah. So I don't think they actually ended up invoicing them. They just made a comment about it in the end. Yeah.
I get it. But even so, I feel like that's so strange to me to be like, you know, you owe me $170 or whatever. Like, I'm just making a random number up, or even like just matter of factly. Like, is that weird?
Yeah. Like, what are wedding expectations, I guess? Like, if you go to a wedding, are you expected to stay right until the bride and the groom leaves? Is that what everyone thinks you should do? I think like that's generally what I would expect, but am I wrong? Do people leave early?
I mean, listen, I would expect that too, but I think for a wedding, it means something differently to you as the bride or groom than it does other people. So it might be your most important, special, private, beautiful day, but to other people, it might just be an obligation. Mm-hmm. So I think that you can't have the same kind of weight when it comes to a wedding for yourself as for someone else. So that's the hard thing. Now, of course, I'm assuming this is a bride or a groom? Bride?
It was the groom who messaged, I think. Yeah.
The groom who messaged this. So as a groom or a bride, it doesn't matter. Of course, you're going to be hurt. Like, your friend just ditched you to go to a club, to go partying, to go to someone else's birthday that happens every single year, where a wedding only happens once. So I get that. But at the same time, you're going to have to let it go. What that means for you is that you're just not a priority in this person's life. And that's obviously apparent because they paid you and they're saying never to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's such a hard one because I feel like there could have been better communication on both ends of it. Like, instead of being like, oh, haha, I might want to invoice you for that, being like, oh, it kind of like hurt me when you left a bit early, and having that discussion. But then also maybe the friend should have let them know and been like, oh, I'm double booked that night. I'd love to come to your wedding, but I might leave early so I can go to my friend's birthday. Yeah. And then that would have been a better understanding between both of them. But I can imagine, like, you've paid so much for your wedding, you've invited this person, apparently her boyfriend wasn't invited initially as well. You've got two people there and then they've just left even though you've paid for them. Like, I can see it on both ends.
Yeah, no, I can totally see it from both ends. I think like my first reaction was just like, wow, I can't imagine invoicing someone. Yeah, like that was my first reaction, because weddings are so stressful. They're so expensive. And I get it, like so much, like a lot of people go into debt for weddings too. And being like, oh, you know, it cost $100 per head. So like $200 or whatever for these people, like that's a huge amount of money. But then on the flip side,
I guess, like, would you have invited them anyway? If they told you they were going to leave early, would you still have invited them? Like, I assume so. Like, is it just someone being annoyed at the fact that they didn't communicate it with them? It seems like there's maybe deeper friendship issues if they got blocked straight away. Like, there might have been some things bubbling under the surface. But yeah, I feel like some of those big events really pull some of those friendship or relationship problems right to the front. So it can be interesting.
Yeah, because what was their relationship like before? What was the expectation? Were there other things that happened in the past that are similar to this? Do they have like money situations before that happened where it felt justified to be like, well, you owe me for this because something has happened in the past? Like, we don't know any of those things.
Yeah, but people who block you without talking about it, it's just like, okay, cool, that's done.
Yeah, good riddance. Like, in a way, this is a blessing in disguise, because yes, you've lost a friend from your wedding, but now you don't have to deal with them for the rest of your life. And you can go find better people in your life who are willing to celebrate some of those really important moments.
Yeah, and won't leave to go clubbing afterwards.
Yeah. I've totally gone clubbing after a wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm definitely like a midnight bedtime person these days.
Oh, no, these days, yes. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I've definitely
these days, like, I'm so old, but I'm not.
Yeah. But I mean, when I was younger, we would definitely go clubbing after a wedding, because you'd get, like, you'd have good fun vibes and you'd maybe have some drinks. I don't know about here, but like often big Croatian weddings are open bar and people would be like, let's go out partying afterwards. But you would do it at a time that made sense, not like in the middle of the wedding.
Yeah, you watch the fancy exit, or you let them know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely, just a reminder that it is your big day. Some people won't feel the same about your big day as you do. I think I've kind of seen this in a different way with our book launch and everything happening, like seeing who will send messages versus who won't. But it's just like remembering that, like, sure, you've written a book or you've done this other thing or you're getting married, but people have other things going on in their lives as well. So yeah. Your most important day isn't going to be someone else's. Yeah. And that expectation needs to be like a real one, right? I remember my cousin was getting married and she was saying the wedding has gotten bigger than she wanted. She wanted like a small wedding and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, well, why don't you just keep it small? And she said, well, this wedding isn't for me and my partner. This wedding is for everyone else. And some cultures, that's totally the case, right? Like, the wedding is about the family and the friends and you're celebrating them. It's, even though it's your big day and your commitment and your vows, it's really about the other people. So it depends on your culture, it depends on your family, it depends on so many different things. But in the future, maybe bring it up without saying you might invoice her might be my suggestion, but I do get it because I feel a bit petty about stuff sometimes.
Would you do it? Would you invoice?
No, I probably wouldn't invoice that dramatically, but I definitely don't like when things feel unfair. And I feel like one of the easiest ways to make things feel fair is to make it like financially equal, even if that's too simplified. So I do get it, but I also get that people will be a bit offsided by that as well. So taking a step back and being like, oh, hey, I was a bit hurt that you left early and didn't say goodbye. Would love to chat about it, something along those lines, and then see their reaction from there. But it just seems like you guys aren't meant to be friends anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah. At least you got some money out of it, I guess.
Yeah. At least you paid you first. Yeah. I've heard people unfriend me and not pay me. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, next wedding one. Am I the asshole for pulling out of a hen bachelorette party? So one of my best friends is no longer getting married. She has been in an abusive and chaotic relationship on and off for the last 2 years, and he has now left her as he cannot pay for the wedding and he has gambled the money. She is considering getting back together with him if he apologizes. Originally, a boozy weekend away was planned. I was involved in the planning, and now we can cancel without losing money, and the others are planning on not to go. A message today was sent saying we should go ahead with this in 4 months' time to cheer her up. I have replied saying I cannot do it for personal reasons, which I explained to my friend. Her mom and sister hate me, and the weekend in their company will cause me stress and anxiety. I will need to borrow money to attend. I just got married, and I will have to go into debt for this. I am currently trying not to drink due to being exhausted and overworked. So these are all of my reasonings, and I have been told I am a bad friend by the sister and mom, and now I'm very nervous to address this with my friend. They said because she attended my wedding and my hen party that I should be expected to do the same. I do feel a bit guilty being selfish and would appreciate some responses and options. Am I the asshole?
No, definitely not. I think you should never, ever go into debt for a holiday or a trip unless it is like an extremely special, occasional, rare thing that you probably can never do again. But like, no, you're not the arsehole for saying, sorry, I'm tired, I don't want to drink, and also like, I don't want to go away, I can't afford it right now.
Also because like this was set up with the intention of a wedding, right? So the festivities were happening because it was a bachelorette party, a hen party, you're going to all get together, and now the wedding's no longer going forward. Now, of course, this bride is probably really upset and hurt, but there's other ways to support her as opposed to going into debt, spending a lot of money and making a big thing out of it.
And why is there an expectation that people need to travel to go to these parties as well? Like I find that is sometimes a little bit insensitive expecting someone to go. Like it's fine if you want to have a bachelorette somewhere else, but you can't expect everyone to go if you're not subsidizing it for them. Like not everyone is in the same financial situation. If you've got multiple friends getting married, you probably can't afford multiple trips. If you don't have that much annual leave from your job either, you don't want to spend all of it on these different trips for other people. So if you're having one that's away, you've got to also respect that some people might not prioritize that.
Yeah, exactly. And weddings can be so expensive and you never know what the expectations are. Like I've been in weddings where I had to pay for my own dress and my own shoes and the trip away. And then I've been in other weddings where they covered all those costs for me as being part of the bridal party. So it really kind of depends on that. But I agree with you. Like you should never go into debt for someone else's things. Ideally, you should try to never go into debt, period, right? Let alone for someone else that's going to cause financial stress. But then there's the emotional stress of that. There's the anxiety of dealing with the sister and the mom. There's the wanting to be better by not drinking, right? Like looking after your health. And those things are all very valuable things.
And like, don't let yourself be bullied into doing something you don't really want to do. Like you're not a bad friend for putting yourself first in that situation. Like obviously there's all the other stuff going on in terms of the person maybe not getting married and wanting to cheer her up, but it's also not your responsibility to do that if they're asking a lot from you to go and do that. Like you can support them wherever you are now. You can be like, sorry, I can't do that, but let's do a night out or something instead, or I'll take you to dinner. You can offer alternatives as well. But it just sounds really hard when you've got so many people kind of pressuring you to go.
And just having boundaries is really important. I was in a wedding party and they were all going down to Vegas from Vancouver. And I was just like, I can't get the time off. It costs a lot of money. It's just not a priority. If I'm going to travel, I don't want to travel to Vegas. That's just not like somewhere I enjoy going.
When I travel, I want a flight on sale. I don't want to have to go on set dates at a certain time to this place that someone else has picked.
Exactly. And luckily, everyone was totally understanding at that time. But there are people who are not understanding. And the question again is, what do you value in a friendship if you can't be respectful of each other's goals and boundaries?
I would talk to the friend directly in this situation, like ignore the sister and the mum and just say like, oh, sorry, I'll talk to so-and-so directly myself and just explain it to them.
Yeah.
And offer other solutions as well. So don't be like, I'm not supporting you at all. Be like, sorry, I'm going to offer you these other things though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One of my friends is getting married next year and I'm one of her bridesmaids, and it's been quite interesting. So we've been having chats around like what we can all afford as a bridesmaid, and she's kind of discussed her budget with us, which I found really like fun and insightful. And she's decided that we're going to buy our own dresses, but they can be like any kind of dress in any shade of this one color she wants. So it's something you will wear again, but she's going to pay for our makeup, I think. And that was such a good discussion of like, hey, what's your budget? What can you afford? Like, will it put you out too much having to buy a dress? Do you even like, I think green's her color. Do you even like green dresses? And that was like such a good discussion to have.
Do you like green?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I like the emerald green.
Yeah.
Whereas I think one of her other bridesmaids likes like the lighter, kind of like pastel-y green, but she doesn't mind us all being different shades, which is great because we can all have, like I've got an emerald green dress already.
That's what I did for my cousin's wedding, actually. She had like a burgundy color and a gold color, and like they all went together. And so she kind of was like, which colors do you guys want? 2 of these, 2 of that. And that was great. And I've worn that dress to many other weddings since then. Yeah. So that makes it really easy, as opposed to being the exact same style and color and cut, and everyone has different body shapes and it doesn't look good.
And you won't wear it ever again.
Yeah, for sure.
So more conversations needed.
Yeah, especially around budgets and expectations.
And not being afraid to just stand up for yourself as well. It might be really hard and challenging, but hopefully you'll have more friendships that align in the future if you're standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah, and sometimes friendships need to end if you don't have the same respect for each other. Like, honestly, like that's the hard truth. Sometimes friendships just need to end because they're not good for you and they're not good for someone else because they're toxic and the expectations are just incorrect.
Too much, yeah. And are there double standards? Would they go into debt for your hen's party? And would you expect them to go into debt for you? Because the answer is probably no.
Yeah.
Yeah. On to the next one. That was a heavy one. I spilled a drink on my friend's laptop. Should I have to pay for it? My friend, who is a professional singer, bought her laptop to the wedding to play music. She left it in a backpack next to me while she went off to take pictures. I was sitting at the table when a waitress handed me a drink, and as I took it, I accidentally spilled it on the backpack, on my dress, and everywhere. I immediately opened the backpack to check the contents and found her laptop inside. It was a mess. I told my friend about it, and while she was sad and she hoped the laptop would be okay, we checked it and it seemed to be working fine. However, later that day, after the wedding, she messaged me saying the laptop wasn't charging. The repair cost $1,300, which I ended up paying for. I feel really bad about the situation, but I can't help wondering, was it really all my fault? I mean, why would she bring such an expensive laptop to a wedding and not even have it in a proper protective case? It was just in a backpack, which wasn't secure at all. She's the bride's sister, who is also a good friend of mine, so I decided to just pay for it and keep the peace. But it was a huge expense for me, and I'm struggling with whether I did the right thing.
Oh, that's hard. What would you do in that situation?
What are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts are I would pay for it and I would just suck it up. Like, it's such a huge amount of money. And yes, it's an accident, but it was in a bag. It wasn't on the table. It wasn't laid out where someone can do it on the, spill a drink on the table. Yes, it was an accident, but it was like my accident. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would maybe ask to go halves or something like that as well, because it's so hard when you're not like, it's not like you're borrowing the laptop. It's not like you've agreed to look after a really expensive laptop either. If you aren't someone who would have an expensive laptop too, you might be like, oh, this is quite unfair. So maybe, trying to just chat to them and reach an agreement that way. Also, so many people have insurances these days, so it's just unfortunate that maybe she didn't have Apple Care on her laptop as well. Yeah, it's such a hard one because you also don't want to ruin a friendship over that amount of money as well. And if it's like you're really good friends with the bride, the bride and the bride's sister, like it's very intricate. Yeah,
I think going halfers would probably be another option that I would do. I mean, it's a lot of money, right? Like that's literally a new laptop.
Yeah. I would go and explain as well and be like, well, like this is a big financial strain for me. Can we go halves? Is there, like, can you get another quote for the laptop? Is that the only way it can get fixed? Is there something else you can fix it with? Because like a drink going through a backpack doesn't feel like a whole lot of liquid would actually end up on the laptop.
Yeah, well, I mean, we weren't there, so we don't know. And the other thing is, it's like, it depends on what the drink was, right? It could be really sticky. It could make everything like, all the keys are now sticking and everything's a total issue. I probably would have taken it out and used like a wet wipe to wipe it down. Like, who knows? Maybe they did this and it still doesn't work.
Put it in rest or something.
Yeah. So we don't know to the extent of that, but
more of a relationship thing there. Yeah, having a discussion around who actually deserves to pay for some of it? Can we split it? Who will feel like things have been unfair? Because you don't want to both feel like things have been unfair.
Yeah. And it's like, it goes back to having a conversation of things, but sometimes people just don't see things the right way. Because I can totally be like, well, it was your fault. You dropped the drink. You should have been more careful. Like, obviously my bag is there. What if it was your phone? Like, what if, you know? But the other flip side is like, things happen
and being responsible for your stuff as well. I don't know if we've discussed this before, but I read somewhere someone was like, my husband left his iPad on the floor and I stepped on it. Should I have to pay for it? I was like, oh, like you stepped on it, but also you shouldn't be leaving things on the floor.
But is it on your side of the bed? You know what I mean? Like, were you watching in bed and it's on your side of the bed? Like, there's so many layers to it. I think like what I've learned from some of these is that at the end of the day, it really comes down to what you think versus someone else's thinks, you know? Like, I think my gut reaction was like, oh, I would pay for that. But I'm also in a situation where that
you can pay for it.
I can pay for it. Whereas a while ago, that'd be way too much money and that would put me out and that would really kind of stress me out. So it's a very different kind of place.
Yeah. It all kind of goes back to like communication and the relationship you have with that person. So I feel like these situations just bring out like underlying issues a lot of the time and whether or not it feels fair or not. I think it depends on so many other factors like the laptop. Like if it was quite old, I'd be like, oh, like was it going to die anyway? Like maybe you were going to buy a new one in the next year or so versus if it's brand new, it'd be like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry. You weren't planning on buying a new one anyway. Like it's, really hard. Lots of nuance.
And was like the laptop there because she was singing at the wedding and she needed it? You know, like, is it a business expense? Is there something else? You know, but we don't know these things. So it's just like, we can just speculate as much as possible.
But so juicy and so tricky. But talk to people. Try and come across not attacking and being like, this is where I'm coming from. This is what I feel. Let's try and reach a resolution.
Yeah, so hard.
But I don't think it's wrong to pay for it if you felt like that was the best thing to do in the situation to protect the relationships around you.
It's like the sunglasses one, right?
Yes.
Like this reminds me
I've been asking all my friends about that in real life.
Because I go back and forth on that one. So just for context, this was the other episode that we did on this where there was someone left their sunglasses in the back of someone's car. And as their friend went looking for them, they stepped on them.
Yeah.
And said they were broken, right?
Yeah.
They lied.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar situation. I think at that point I was like, no, you shouldn't pay for them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, why did I feel that way? Whereas for this laptop, I don't
I think it's the one in the car, he was doing him a favor. Whereas this one, I think it's like she wasn't doing her a favor. It was just there. But even then it's like unfair if people are just like leaving their expensive devices under your chair. Like just so unfortunate that that's where it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So hard.
I have so much fun talking about these though. So if anyone has any dilemmas, either arsehole stories, if you even see them on Reddit or anything, please send them to us so we can discuss them. It's interesting that similar themes keep coming up, like weddings seem to be such a big one. So please send us all your stories. I'm excited to read them and let us know if you like these episodes.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invest or me at Ana Christina.
This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info.